Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a Ukrainian show on POT TV, where we are discussing also Russia, China, and these days Iran. My name is Sasha Star, and our guest today is uh, political analyst Steve Rao from POT TV. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Sasha, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Very
Okay,
good.
great. It's good to see you.
Okay, so let's discuss very quickly what's happened in Ukraine. The
Yeah,
Ukrainians are slowly taking over the territory occupied by Russia.
right.
Russia has nothing to sort of fight it off. It's just losing territory. It's losing infrastructure. It's losing people. It's losing just everything,
Yes.
and it's really funny that Zelensky is approaching Putin. Let's meet and let's discuss peace or so on. It's Putin who has to beg Zelensky to meet and discuss peace
Well,
because
Sasha,
Russia is losing the war.
you really read my mind today. You know what I thought we'd do today, as hard as an analyst sometimes you get so bogged down in the day-to-day things of what's going on to take a step back and really assess at a high level where I think we are. But you must have been reading my mind. I was doing a little practice today on a morning run of what I would say on the show. But I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, clearly, this war has been probably the greatest success post World War II of any nation uh, um, that was invaded like Ukraine. I mean, you think about it. Ukraine is the population of Russia is I think 4 times the size of Ukraine, the size of the economy 12 times the power, and
Yeah,
yet Ukraine. You've got to give the Ukrainian people credit that they've been able to change the way wars are fought. 7 million drones, 7 million. Let's put that into perspective. United States this year, or by 2026, would have produced 300,000 drones, and Ukraine is producing 7 million,
more
and
than
most
20 times as much.
yeah, 20 times as much, and most of that is homegrown. So the first point I want to make to everybody is yes, absolutely, Ukraine is winning and Russia is losing. They're losing ground. They've lost about 400,000 troops. People in Russia are really upset about this war. So it's not working well for Putin. And what does that mean? Well, what that means, and I know you and I aren't going to be happy about this because we're not Trump supporters, but it does give President Trump a chance in the midst of an Iran war, which he says is going to be over soon. But I think that's going to create a mess. It's creating a mess in the economy here in the US and around the world. It does give it a good opportunity for Trump to actually not force, but to negotiate peace. Because
Do
if
you still
they
believe
can,
that Trump has any negotiating power in him? I doubt it a lot. What kind of negotiation power? He doesn't understand what he's talking about. He's changing his mind every hour and a half. What negotiations?
I'm just saying if I was his advisors, I'm not talking about him personally, but I mean from a Trump administration perspective, when you think about it, this is an opportunity for them, right? Because think about this. They could claim that they could end or be involved with ending one of the largest wars since World War II, Ukraine, right? Number two, they could force Putin's hand. Now I know he's been pro-Russia all along, and but if he could eventually increase the aid to Ukraine and provide them more support, then as long as Ukraine's peace is negotiated logically, that they can defend their borders, then I think it would force Putin to accept something. But the question is, yeah, will Trump, does he have it in him to accept that his previous actions were wrong? I'm just saying that it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. And I think that it's clear that Putin's back is against the wall at this point. Russia is not going to win this war. The longer they stay in, it's going to give, quite frankly, the Ukrainians more of a chance to continue to push. And but I got to give Zelensky and Ukrainian people the greatest of credit in terms of how they've changed the dynamics of war. I mean, they far exceeded the expectations, Sasha, that you and I were even having,
Absolutely.
a
But
few years ago.
look, Steve, think about this. So he has an opportunity to end the war between Russia and Ukraine. What about the war in Iran? Where is his negotiating powers? What is he going to do there? Now Iranians demand immediate payment of $12 billion.
Yeah.
And for Trump, it's a humiliation because he believes that he won the war. All world, the U.S. is the greatest power, and so on. And now they have to pay $12 billion
Well, I think
just to get to the table.
if you listen to his interview this Sunday with Kristen Welker on NBC, believe it or not, he stormed out of the station. It was in a farm. There was a lot of rain, but he kept reiterating the point: we've won the war. We've won the war. We've won the war. We've pulverized them. We've taken out their military. 20 years from Reconstruction. But I think the president's missing the point. It's not just about how much you defeat them. What is the end game, right? We're going to be running the affairs of Iran now, just like Iraq. That didn't work well. But I think that the 12 billion, yeah, he's not going to be able. And he when you bring that up, he deflects it to Obama. Well, Obama was giving $7 billion of treasuries, and we didn't. We signed the nuclear deals agreement with Iran, and deals off the table. This and this. So I think it's just smoke and mirrors. I don't think it's good for the economy with oil prices where they are, inflation still around in America. I don't know what the prices are like in Canada, but there's also global aftershock, with this so.
You see, Iranians are very good negotiators, not unlike Trump. They understand that the 250th anniversary is coming up, his birthday is coming up, the midterm election is coming up, he needs to lower prices, at least for gasoline and so on. They do understand everything. Nothing escapes there. So they're calculating, okay, look, so if you need this, see, we don't need anything. We are not asking you for anything. Just go away. That's the end of story. Now, you, unlike us, need something. You need the opening Strait of Hormuz, the Iranian dust, so many different things. So if somebody needs something, somebody has to offer to get something. If you are going to store, you want to buy a loaf of bread, which costs a couple of dollars, so you have to pay a couple of dollars to get the loaf of bread. So, Mr. Trump, so what you say you need to open Strait of Hormuz, and you open this and that and that. So pay, just pay $12 billion. And next week, it's going to be $25 billion. Hurry up, pay the money, and go away.
He'll never, in his mind, and I have a hard time reading his mind, as all of us do, he won't accept any kind of deal that's not, on his terms or his side of the market.
There is a deal. That's how he's going to pay $12 or $25 billion. He wants to create a $300 billion fund, and in that amount, in $300 billion, the $12 or $25 billion is nothing. So nobody will even notice this money will pay. The problem only is where the money will come, $300 billion. Oh, from his rich Arab friends, United Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and some others. But they are saying that, look, Mr. Trump, you cannot defend us against Iran. You cannot defend your own military bases in the region. So what? Why would we pump hundreds of billions of dollars in your stupid fund to help you to hide payments to Iranians? No, just go and pay, or don't pay, but don't get us involved. We want to make our own separate deals with Iran that would allow us to bring oil from the region and so on. That's what we want to do. You can't do anything. You're good for nothing, Mr. Trump. So how you deal with that situation?
Well, the thing that bothers me, Trump, and I just saw the movie Pressure about Dwight D. Eisenhower in Normandy. I would really encourage all of us it's a fantastic movie. Brendan Fraser plays Eisenhower. And the reason is, you really get a sense of the coalitions during World War II and during the war that we built with other nations, the allied forces, eventually the presence of NATO, and the strength of NATO. And American foreign policy was successful because we didn't only act unilaterally on our own. We had to factor in how we would work with other countries. But this president it's, I think, an America first foreign policy. I'm going to go in and take out a dictator in Venezuela. I'm going to go and do this, but not thinking about the repercussions that's going to have for the rest of the world. So, I really think this is something that it's just Trump, in my opinion, trying to bring attention to himself, trying to take away attention from domestic trouble at home with inflation and the economy, and then just going to war. And then there's some conspiracy theorists. I don't like to say these things without proof, but that he's actually going to war to make money, that he's never really been a billionaire, and that he's going to be a billionaire after this war is over, or right now, because of his investments in other companies around the world, and he'll be the first president to profit from his very own foreign policy decisions. But I just think that the ground is moving very quickly. I do think, however, that this will perhaps be some kind of a negotiating chip with China, because China is looking at Ukraine very closely. I've said all along that if they were successful in Ukraine, then they're probably going to go in and get Taiwan. We know that Trump doesn't want that. They had pretty tough meetings with Prime Minister Xi just a few weeks ago in Beijing. And, I just wonder how much of the Ukraine strategy is shifting, because this president is also trying to kind of shift his approach to China. It's just hard to kind of really predict what is going on. But I wish I was a political science student in U.S. at a university or in Canada, what they would be saying.
Steve, I would like to make one remark. You mentioned about coalitions. As a student of history, you must understand pretty well that the only wars in 20th century, 21st, U.S. won, it's only through coalition. Single-handedly, U.S. never won any war whatsoever, except against Spain in 1899, okay? So in all 20th century, if you take Vietnam, you take Korea, you take just anything, what else is there? Iraq, Afghanistan, now Iran, where U.S. won a single war, a big war, a small war, a medium-sized war. What? Where? When? Never. And in coalition, if you take Second World War, so U.S. entered the war in Normandy this summer of 1944, but Germany was already crushed by Soviet Union. Yeah, they were still fighting, but they were crushed. Militarily, they were crushed. Soviet Union was close to borders of Germany. They went on to take Poland, to take all these Eastern European countries, and finally Germany itself. So actually, it was a great opportunity for U.S., which is used to jump in and make themselves winners of the Second World War.
Yeah,
it was already
that's true. But I will say that when a country, one thing, I want to also get in before we leave today about what a Russia would look like if, if they were to negotiate a surrender, or no, it's not a surrender, a peace agreement, what a post-Putin Russia would look like. But one thing we often forget is whenever a foreign power, whenever a country becomes so overconfident, they believe they can just start extending themselves in other parts of the world, they can actually lose their hegemonic power or strength. And this happened to Great Britain. And I think there's a lot of analogies of the U.S. kind of forgetting that we can't just invade for countries because we believe it's the right thing to do. We've got to factor in what does that mean with overextending our military, and are other countries going to be willing to go to war more willingly because of what the example Ukraine has set with drones, that you can have an economy that's smaller. Think about it. I mean, the other thing I'll say, Sasha, I've been doing my research before the show. We often forget that it's not the best military people that are going to become Putin's soldiers. These are people from the poorest the parts of the country.
Agree.
They're refugees. They're just and it's not like being a Navy SEAL or going through the United States military. So that's the other thing to factor in, is that Russia is just really upset about this war. What do you think? Do you think Putin's power is in trouble now in Russia?
Well, the trouble that he has, it's self-inflicted, because if there would be a war, there would be so much trouble. Now, let's face it, he's in power for 25, 26 years now, probably. And from history, I don't know any ruler who could withstand so much time being on top, because normally he would make some mistakes. His people around him would become unhappy, jealous, or so on, and try to dislodge you. So this situation is difficult as it is. And now with the crushing defeats from Ukrainian army, it makes situation so much worse for him. And there is nothing he can do it. There is also, I'll tell you, misfortune or karma of being such a huge country, because you cannot defend such an enormous territory, 17 million square kilometers. You cannot defend. Okay, you can defend Moscow, perhaps St. Petersburg, but your vast territory, where a lot of, for example, the oil production is happening, and many other industries, they're defenseless, and Ukrainian drones hitting them daily. And you know what? Sometimes they hit the plant, the oil plant, for example. So there is a fire. So it takes 4 days to bring down the fire. They hit it once again.
The wars are always run on the front lines with the troops on the ground, but the drone systems are weapon systems. And these are tools that the militaries can use to help them gain ground or prevent the others from gaining ground. And so I think this has been a huge boon to Ukraine's efforts. And Putin was, I think, he initially thought that Ukraine was going to be too weak, that the West was going to get tired and just yank their support of Ukraine. But in both situations, these things did not happen, and that's why Putin is in trouble. And with a military that's tired, they've lost over 300 to 400, I think at least 400,000 troops.
More than that.
And the economy is not doing well in Russia. Unemployment is high. They cannot find labor to support their businesses. I mean, this is not like it's the old Soviet Union. And even though they weren't doing well during the whole Cold War, I know you grew up in the former Soviet Union. The reality is, they were still the Soviet Empire. But I think this is very different. I think the Russian Empire is a man that's a dictator with a huge ego that thought he was going to get an easy win. And I got to tell you, I think Zelensky could go down as the George Washington of this era. The bravery of the Ukrainian people. If there was any word that described them, I would say it'd be resilience and hope. Hope that I've been watching Star Wars recently, the movies, and if you look at Andor, which was kind of a spinoff, I look at the Ukrainians like Andor, the rebellion. People that aren't willing to give up, people that don't have the big weapons and the big economies, but they were willing to fight freedom. So if anything, I think it gives other nations in the world hope, and will hopefully send a message out to even these larger, imperial type powers like China.
Right? Well, what you compare about Ukraine, which is much smaller than Russia, it's poorer than Russia, it has much less population than Russia, and it's fighting for now 4.5 years, and it's about to take over. And look at US, which has the biggest military in the world, the biggest economy in the world. Everything is the best, the biggest, and so on. And they cannot do anything with Iran, almost medieval country, which has suffered even before invasion of US, and now suffering even more. And they cannot do anything. They cannot even sign a peace agreement with Iran. So what would you say? Okay, I understand you're American, you're not going to criticize too much, but if you were not, what would you say about the situation?
The situation in general is just about the war, the state of the world, state of the economy, or what? Just in general. I mean, what I would say as an American is that I think I'm concerned as an American that we've always been the leader of the free world, one that has built alliances, done what is right for fighting for freedom. And I think today the United States is looking a bit hypocritical in this approach. And we're a very divided nation. And I don't believe that President Trump has carried himself as a president. A president is one who leads all the people, not just the people who voted for you, even the people who didn't vote for you. It also leads in the world with the countries that you may not agree with. So I'm concerned as an American for the future of our country and the future of the world. But I just hope that the Democrats can nominate somebody that can take on whoever Trump's successor is. At this point, from my sources are telling me it's going to be Marco Rubio, the current Secretary of State, that will be the nominee of the Republican Party, while you've got 14 Democratic politicians, including Bernie Sanders, who are probably going to run for president again, and Kamala Harris. So it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Yes, Steve, I agree with you. I would like to thank you very much for today's program, and have a good week, and glory to Ukraine.
Glory to Ukraine, Slava Ukraine. And Sasha, we want to bring you on my podcast, and I hope I'm holding my own going toe-to-toe with you as an expert, but try to do my homework this morning to be prepared.
Thank you. Bye-bye, and
Yes.
see you next. Our program will be on Friday, and if you can make it, would be great. If not, then see you Tuesday next week. Thank you very much.